Hey, 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 how are you?
I am great. How are you?
Good, good. So we didn't meet last week because you went on a retreat, which is fabulous. And I want to tell all of our women out there that this is a very important part of taking care of yourself, meeting with like people. It just, it fills the soul.
It fills the soul, it energizes you, and it also energizes your business. I was talking to a coach friend of mine who was at the retreat, and she and I've both noticed every time we take a vacation or we take a break from work, we come back and there's always a abundance of new clients or new leads or new something coming into our business.
Mhm.
And it's because we're not forcing things. We're like letting go, we're surrendering, and we're also taking care of ourselves. And it's just amazing that it happens that way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we could do a whole talk on self-love and taking these breaks, but today we're going to talk about something that I call the money jar method. While you were gone, I got to get a little bit creative during our normal hour together, and I was thinking back to when we were in debt, how we made it fun. Because
Mhm.
just because you decide to get out of debt, it doesn't have to be miserable. It doesn't have to be where you sit in the dark and just go to work and come home. I mean, those are some rules that I don't know who created them, but they're just wrong. They're just
Yeah.
absolutely wrong.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And something that I see a lot, and I'm sure you see it a lot too, is people saying they can't pay off debt and save at the same time. And we almost like beg them to do it at the same time because you don't want to hold yourself back from saving for the future or saving for emergencies or whatever else simply because you're in debt. Like there's a nice happy medium that you can find to
Mhm.
reach both goals, and to be able to take care of your debt. So
Yeah. Well, and also saving for some fun. I mean,
yeah.
being able to save for some fun. So let me tell you what we did because
Okay.
um, being in debt sucks.
Hmm.
I'm going to be, it sucks. It
Hmm.
sucks. It sucks. It sucks. So we wanted to figure out how to make it suck less.
Yeah.
And something that we enjoyed doing was going out to dinner.
Hmm.
And so we would pay our bills first, take care when we got paid, pay the bills first, take care of whatever we needed for the week, get gas, groceries, the necessities of life.
Hmm.
And then whatever we had left over, go ahead and put away for our emergency fund, do all the adult things we're supposed to do, right? And then whatever was left over was our spending money and we'd split it. So, but we also wanted to go to dinner, but we
Hmm.
knew we'd have to sacrifice spending during the week in order to go to dinner. So we set out a jar.
Mhm.
And whenever we decided not to spend or whatever we had at the end of the week, our spending money would go in the jar. And we could watch that thing build up. And, I think the first time we did it, it took us about a month because,
Mhm.
you're really getting in the groove and everything. But we got to the point where we were putting money in the jar every week, and about every other week, we were able to go out to eat. It made it fun. It didn't feel like we were depriving ourselves because we
Mhm.
were intentionally deciding not to spend so we could go out to eat as soon as the jar filled up to a certain amount.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we gamify it. So
Yeah.
my big indulgence after a tough day, oh, let me grab my pearls and tell you how horrible my day was to stop and get coffee.
Mhm.
That was my thing. And let's say that a cup of coffee costs, I don't know, let's just ease of math, $10.
Mm-hmm.
But if I did that after every hard day, because every day was a hard day, that's $50, right?
Yeah.
That's at least a drink out to eat these days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right.
So I would go through this kind of quiz to decide, am I going to stop or am I going to put this money in the jar? So I could give in immediately. Yeah, it's been a tough day. Screw it. I need my coffee. And that's fine. It was spending money and I had that option. Or I could cling rigidly to all or nothing, budgeting. This is horrible, and not do anything. And not even put the money in the jar, just screw it. It's been a horrible day. I'm just going to keep on with the horribleness, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I could sit and, why did I get us in this place? Sit there and beat myself up and go get that quick fix. Or I could say, I can fix a cup of coffee at home, put my $10 in the jar, celebrate this, and get us closer to our goal of going out to eat. None of those are a wrong choice, but it intentionally got me thinking about, what do I want? What does the future me want?
Right.
Instead of the immediate me. And to be completely honest, that coffee was not going to fix my terrible day.
Sure.
So have you ever heard anything like this or a version of it?
So I have not heard of the money jar as you guys have done it. I have seen some printable trackers where people who are really trying to hit a savings goal or trying to hit a debt goal or something like that have, like, I've seen everything from like a rainbow to like a picture of a jar to a picture of something that they like color in.
Oh.
And there's like a dollar amount or whatever else. Or some people try to do like the 1, 2, 3, 4 trick for saving money and things like that. So I've seen those variations, which are really good for people who don't have cash on hand and don't have something to physically put inside of a jar. But I hadn't heard of that. I think that's a really great idea and a great visual for people.
Yeah. So regardless if you do it with actual money in a physical jar or you do it electronically, because I think you could even use like the Acorns app that you've talked about, where it rounds up your spending and can move it over there. And once that gets built up, which we'll let you talk about in a second, the whole point here is, what is something that lights you up? Something small. No, I mean, we're not talking like a round the trip cruise or anything. We're talking something small. What is something that really lights you up that you could look forward to doing? And what if you decided, instead of spending today, you move that amount over either electronically or physically in a jar to be able to do that something that lights you up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really great. And that's the goals-based savings that we like to talk about. And when people hear goals, they think grand, far away goals, whatever else. It can even be small short-term goals. Like you mentioned, it can be, a nice dinner, or you want to, like, maybe there's a concert coming up that you want to save up for, or a play or something like that. Something that, like, you don't want to get yourself in debt into trying to do these things, but it is something that's important to you that you would like to be able to kind of save up for.
Yeah. So I think step one would be dream. Get down with a piece of paper or computer, a Word doc, a Google doc, whatever, and sit there and dream about some small things, I would say $200 or less.
Yeah.
That would really keep a fire lighted within you on this journey of financial freedom, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's saving for retirement, getting an emergency fund, getting out of debt, all those things that we all talk about. Sit and dream about that. That would probably be my first step. What is it that I want to do?
Yeah. And writing it down is incredibly helpful because, again, it's that visual. Like you can dream in your head, but once you actually write down the things that you would like, you know, small things that would make you happy or just be really fun or whatever else, then you've got something on paper that you can then, you know, build up towards.
Yeah. And then pick one.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, close your eyes and point on the piece of paper, and that's the one you're going to try. Exactly. I mean, tear pieces of paper up, put it in something, and pick one. You know, however you want to do it. Pick one, figure out how much it's going to cost, and how do you get there?
Yeah.
How do you get there? And it is as simple as that.
Yeah.
And that way you are reaching your goals while also having fun, because this does not have to be a miserable experience. It does not have to be.
Yeah. And we've talked a few times before about how budgeting, the B word, all of that has negative connotations, or people think there's only one way to budget or only one way to do things. And it's really not that way. Same with savings too. Some people have a negative relationship or connotation with savings because it's something they've just been unable to do. Yeah. And I get it. Like, things are so expensive right now that our paychecks are not going as far as they used to. And it's been harder and harder to free up some money for whatever those little savings goals are. So by micro saving, doing things like you're mentioning, yes, it'll take you a little bit longer to get to some of those goals, but it won't feel as like harsh, I guess. Like, it'll just be small little increments here and there, and not like huge amounts of money that will make you feel like, you know,
like there's no end. Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, the key to any big change, I don't care what you're trying to accomplish, is breaking it down into small milestones. Because, you know, I don't know, let's say you wake up and decide, I'm going to, you haven't read a book in 5 years, and you've decided, you know what, this year I'm going to read 24 books, and you haven't read a book in forever. What if you read 10 pages a day? You know, it's breaking these really grandiose goals that we have up into little bite-sized pieces. And it really helps you get the momentum that you need to accomplish what you're looking to do. Yes,
I agree, for sure.
So if I were to get the acorns out, and how that works is when I spend, it rounds up, correct? And it moves that over automatically to acorns. How do I get that money once it's over there?
Yeah. So Acorns is an app that you connect whatever accounts that you spend out of. So it could be a checking account, a credit card, whatever else. And every time there's a transaction, if you have roundups turned on, it will round it up to the nearest whole dollar. So like if you spend $100 or $1.50 at a coffee shop, it'll round up to $2, so that 50 cents would go into savings. It doesn't pull the money out of your account until it reaches at least $5. So it's not like you're constantly sending over to Acorns 50 cents, 30 cents, whatever else. It adds up to $5, and then you'll see that $5 and some change head over to Acorns. Once it's in Acorns, you can do a couple of different things with it. It is an investment account, so you can invest that money in some like very low fee ETF type stuff, and it can be conservatively or aggressively invested. And You can do that, or you can just have it sit there. I haven't checked to see if they've got like a non-investment option with a little bit of an interest rate, like a high yield savings. It's very possible they might, but once that money is in there, whatever else, anytime you need to take the money out, you just need to say, I need to transfer this much money out of this account into my checking account. It does take a few days since it is invested for them to sell out of that ETF, for that money to be cash, and then for it to be sent over. So we absolutely don't recommend this for emergency funds or anything like this. This is just other goal money. So we've talked about Christmas money, saving up through the year and having money for Christmas at the end of the year. Some people use it as just like a set it and forget it. And then when they look and see, oh, I've got a couple thousand in there, what do I want to use this for? It's like a fun out of the way savings. You can also contribute additional amounts of money into it each week or month if you want to. So in addition to the roundups, if you wanted to do $5 a week or $10 a month, you could also have that set up to go in there as well, especially for people who don't do a whole lot of spending. So they're not going to have a ton of roundups. It's another way to kind of build up that savings. But yeah, the money is still accessible to you. It just takes a few days to transfer over to your bank account. I do want to mention that there is tax, considerations for something like this. As an investment, any money that you make in that, you do have to pay taxes on. But again, depending on the amount of money you're working with, it's not going to be a lot. If I'm saving $400 in acorns for Christmas, and out of that 400, $50 was gains or growth for me, then I would just be paying taxes on the $50, not the entirety of the money. So something to consider. And it's the same with high yield savings accounts too. People don't realize that the interest that you're accruing in those accounts, you do have to pay taxes on, because it is income and it is an additional amount of money that you're receiving. But the amount of taxes you have to pay versus the free money you get from the bank is still worth it. So
you never worry about paying taxes when you're earning money.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to tell you. Do not be afraid of the taxes. You don't pay 100% tax on any money that you're earning. Yeah. So one of the banks that I really like is Ally. They are always running phenomenal promotions. My daughter just set up an account over there, and she got a substantial amount of free money because of the amount of money and I'm like, this is yours. I mean, so it's fun to look at the high yield. I think Ally is one, and I think Capital One has something similar. Yeah.
There's a SoFi one. There's also one, I think it's called like Marcus through Charles Schwab or something. So like a lot of the banks will have them. The online banks tend to have the highest interest rates over the brick and mortar, just because they don't have to pay the overhead and all of that stuff. But you can easily shop. I mean, I use websites like NerdWallet or whatever else where you can compare all the different high yield savings accounts, and it'll compare fees, minimums, interest rates, any kind of special offers. So there's a great way to cross compare stuff if you're just not quite sure where to go. But I send all my clients to Ally because they don't have any fees or minimums.
Right. That's where I go.
And they have a competitive interest rate with any of the other accounts. So I've had money in there for years, and it's just a great safe place to stock away an emergency fund or stock away for goals in the buckets they have or whatever else.
The buckets are great. It's just like the envelopes, except it's electronic. So you can start a bucket over there for my night out if you want it, or so if I were doing something like that, I would probably, like at the end of the week, I mean, I would set up a system, during my money time, decide what I didn't spend, and then pay it like a bill, or, and then have a starting dollar amount, an ending dollar amount, so I could see the growth and color that on a piece of paper, because there's something about the brain seeing things like that. It's like when you have a to-do list and you check it off, you get a dopamine hit for that.
You
the
do.
feel good hormone. It's like, look at me. And by being able to color in a rainbow or a jar
Right.
or whatever, I mean, there is some psychological hormonal benefits to doing these things.
Yeah, the visualization definitely helps. And that's why, like Ally, for example, their buckets have a tracking bar.
Mhm.
So if you have, say, a vacation goal and you know how much you need to save by what date, it'll start tracking it on a little bar. And the more you put it in, the more progress you see and whatever else. So it's the visualization of these goals and these savings that help people realize, like, oh, I'm so close. Like, I just need to free up another $200 and I've hit my goal. As
Yeah.
opposed to if you're not looking at it, if you're just in your mind or, out of sight, out of mind, you don't know exactly how close you are to that goal, or you don't know like what your progress is. And then it's not as easy to get excited about it.
That's right. That's right. So the whole point of this money talk this week, so we can get wise about our money, is set a small goal, because you can still have fun while you're getting out of debt, saving for retirement, building an emergency fund, all of these things. And you should, because you do work hard, and you cannot sustain. It's just like going on a diet. If you decide you're eating nothing but celery for the next month, you cannot sustain that. The same as you can't continue to work hard, get up, do all these money goals, and not have any fun.
Yeah.
It's just not sustainable. And you don't always have to spend money. We've had tons of talks about ways to not spend money and have
Right.
fun. But if there is something that really lights you up that you spend money on, save for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just some really great tips on ways to put a little bit away at a time, visually be able to see your progress, track your goal, do all of that stuff, but then yeah, eventually be able to not have to use debt to do fun things, and then not have to have the stress and worry about how am I going to take care of this afterwards.
Yeah. And you'll notice, at least this is what we noticed when we did it. Probably the first time it took us about a month, but after that we got faster and faster because we enjoyed that time together. It was just a way to celebrate the progress that we had made. And I think we ended up getting to the point where we were going every other week because we just chose not to spend our allotted spending money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't drudgery, and it wasn't, I mean, we just, it made it so much easier is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I like that for sure.
So we'd love to hear what you guys come up with. So if you come up with something fun, please share it with us so we can all benefit from it. And we are always available to help come up with these small goals and set up some kind of system for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. So I am excited to see anyone who wants to comment or message us and let us know what they currently do, if they do this or a very similar system, or if they think this is something they'll implement this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next week.
Until next week.
Bye.